Yes, you will. Okay, good night. Good night. Yeah. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Ottumwa City Council meeting. If everybody would stand, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chris will go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Here.
Councilmember Hull.
Here.
Councilmember Pope. Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Galloway.
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here. Say here.
Here.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is to approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
The next item is to approve our agenda for tonight's city council meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
The next item is our city administrator's report to council. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Phil Rath.
All right. Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I don't have too much to report on tonight. Last Tuesday, we had a budget work session to talk about next year's fiscal year budget. And just a moment ago, you set a public hearing for April 18th to talk about the budget. So I'll have a presentation that evening, and then it'll be open to the public to add any comments they might have. And then ideally, hopefully, council will be supportive and approve the budget that night. And hopefully I'll keep it short just in case we have any weather issues tonight. So I'm going to cut it off right there.
Does council have any questions for Phil? If not, the next item on the agenda is to ask if anybody in the audience tonight wants to address any of our items that are on tonight's agenda.
I've already submitted a request under item I-9.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have no public hearings tonight, no ordinances, so we'll move into departmental recommendations.
3rd Street parking lot dumpster enclosure. Recommendation: approve labor and installation costs associated with the 3rd Street parking lot dumpster enclosure from Schaus Voorhees Manufacturing Incorporated.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Second.
Mr. Seals, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. On July 6, 2021, the city adopted Ordinance 3184, 2021, outlining the process for permitting privately owned dumpsters on public property. I'm going to have Edward go ahead and just play a video as I go through this staff summary that shows what we did and actually installed. Working with Main Street, SMID Committee, and local business owners, staff developed shop drawings for creating a standard dumpster enclosure. The River Hills parking lot enclosure was used as a model and as part of the overall goal of improving the appearance of parking lots and alleys in the downtown business district. After reviewing the public parking lots with the SMID committee, the recommendation for the first of a series of enclosures was 3rd Street parking lot. Installation of the dumpster enclosure was performed by the city of Ottumwa. Total installation cost is $7,885.85, which included concrete, miscellaneous hardware. The project was funded from the downtown Ottumwa Self-Supported Municipal Improvement District fund balance. I listed the original company that did the steel fabrication and then what we had in it for labor and material. So the total cost was $21,035.85. And again, that will come from the SMID fund balance. You can kind of see where we placed it. There was a lot of grade change in that parking lot, and then working with some of the people that familiar with the trucks, we orientated the structure this way where they can come in at an angle with the truck and still roll them out and pick them up without getting into other parking spots. And that's just a bird's eye view.
Does council have any questions for Larry? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Replacement of flow monitors for water pollution control facility. Recommendation, approve the replacement of one FL 1500 flow logger at $5,636 and one AV 9000S analyzer module at $847. Total amount of replacement, $6,483.
Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, Larry.
This is to replace flow metering equipment at one of the combined sewer outfall stations. The flow meters are over 20 years old and starting to fail. The equipment is used to determine water flow amounts during rain events to determine how much combined flow is leaving the system. It is one of the things that we are supposed to monitor and track. Under our compliance schedule, we have to be able to show at the end of the compliance schedule, did we reduce the discharge 85%? So this equipment is important at the end of our compliance schedule to see if we meet that requirement.
Does council have any questions for Larry or comments? Hearing none, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Biosolids hauling contract with Ecosystems Incorporated for water pollution control facility. Recommendation, authorize assignment of the biosolids contract to Ecosystems Incorporated of Ottumwa, Iowa, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, Larry.
The City of Ottumwa, Midwest Injection, Inc., and Ecosystem, Inc. have mutually agreed to assign the remainder of the current biosolids hauling contract from Midwest Injections to Ecosystems. The hauling rates paid by the city will not change because of the assignment of this contract. The contract remains in effect until July 29th, 2024.
Council have any questions for Larry? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Human Resources Update Recommendation, receive updated information concerning the wage and benefit survey being performed by Gallagher.
It's all yours, Barb.
Thank you. Just as an update with Gallagher, we have had a lot of conversations in the last couple of weeks. We are currently about 6 weeks behind where we had initially set out to be. This is due to some staffing turnovers within Gallagher. The city has gotten all of the information to them that they needed, and it's them working through the whole process. They've gotten responses back from numerous cities, looked at a lot of the published data, and they are going through right now and analyzing that. We did receive the initial set of data, I guess, for the benchmark jobs that our advisory committee had put together. And we received that information on March 22nd. As we started going through that data, and keep in mind this is initial data, we started going through that and provided some feedback to Gallagher on some of the different salaries and some of the information that they had provided to us based on whether it's our departmental structure, looking at, is a captain higher than a lieutenant or different things like that. So we are in conversations with them, providing them updates on that. We have conference calls with all of the department heads scheduled for next Tuesday and Wednesday. And the conference calls will be for Gallagher to ask our department heads specific questions about maybe some of the positions that there are, but then also gives our department heads a chance to talk to Gallagher about some of their concerns or questions that they have pertaining to the study. The next step from this is Gallagher will get all of that information, and then they are going to start working on creating pay ranges for all of our positions, not just our benchmark jobs.
So do we have a tentative date on when they hope to have the full final report totally done?
Yeah, their tentative right now is at the end of May. And that would be for doing all pay ranges because they're redoing our entire compensation structure.
Does council have any questions for Barb?
Just a couple. First, And it's been a hot minute since I've actually looked at the contract. Was there anything in place as far as timing? You know, they're 6 weeks behind. Was there anything in there as far as when we had anticipated at the offset when it would be completed? Is there any clawback on the contract price based on the completion date and them missing it?
There is not. However, it is something that once we get to that point, because I have documented everything, once we get to that endpoint, that will be a discussion that I will have with our project director.
Okay. And is this going to interfere in any way with our budgeting process? Because we are at the point now where we have to consider going forward with the budget for next year, and this is clearly not going to line up with that.
Right. It will, but it won't. And the reason I say that is we took that initial data that we did get and we looked at that. And again, just as the initial glance over of it, and we have allocated within this budget something that will help us to get closer to where we need to be based on that information that's in there. So when we start looking at like COLA adjustments and things like that, we have taken that into consideration as we went through this budget process.
Okay. So speaking of the COLA.
Mark, just a second. I apologize. So COLA is, for everyone listening, go ahead.
Cost of living adjustment.
Thank you.
So I know that has been mentioned a couple of times, the cost of living adjustments. So the ranges that they're looking at and the numbers that they will present to you, will that be inclusive of this year's cost of living adjustments and the price or the cost of inflation for this year? Or is the data that they're looking at already a year old since they are so far behind on it?
The data right now is aged to July 1st of 2023. So it will have what the most recent inflationary numbers and everything are. And then what we did pay for within that data was that we could go back within a couple of years and ask for them to age that data appropriately. And that was already part of what we had purchased from them.
Okay. And then the last question that I have, in looking at the compensation, are they strictly looking at salary or are they looking at total compensation package?
They're looking at both. The initial is just compensation, but that's where when they take a look at everything overall and start looking at those pay ranges, that's where they'll start looking at benefits as well.
Okay. Thank you.
I just have a question. So you talked about the initial information being presented. Could you give us a little bit more information about exactly why, so I know you just kind of gave little key points to that, but can you just provide us with a little bit more information why that wasn't kind of where we thought it was going to be, or what those concerns were, and why we're kind of pushing back to?
So with that initial data, there are benchmark jobs that our advisory committee that we had of employees said, you know, these are the jobs that we need to go out and look at for benchmarks, and then we'll create the pay ranges from there. Those benchmark jobs, we get two different sets of data. So there's data that is coming from a customized survey data, which is all of our sister cities that advisory team actually identified and said, hey, these are the cities that we want to go out and get that information from, as well as any private industries that we had access to any of that data. And then there's also a published data source. And what that is information that entities like Gallagher or the Department of Labor, there's like NES, I think there's all kinds of different ones that are out there. So what they've done is they have done all of that work on gathering all of that intel and looking at, okay, in the NES data point, a maintenance technician, the job is this and this is what it pays. So then we need to go back and we need to look and say, well, you know what, that's not what our maintenance technician does, or our maintenance technician does something different. They do more than that. So they also provide to us a combined wage, a combine of both that custom survey data and the published survey data. And again, when we look at some of those, it's not comparing apples to apples. It's not, you know, if we look at a clerk here, it might be something very different. We look at a dispatcher here. The published data for dispatch may be a dispatcher that dispatches trucks rather than someone providing, you know, life-saving techniques or advice or things like that. So that's where we get into it and really can say, look, we should not take the published data into consideration, but we should need to take our custom survey data into consideration. And we can look at that by position to position to make sure it's correct.
Isn't that why we provided the initial information to fill those gaps? So I thought that when, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we have like the department heads and people in the department say, hey, this is what my job or my role is? So wasn't that kind of the point of, or the reason behind providing that information to Gallagher? So we wouldn't have, you know,
Yes.
hey, a dispatcher for trucks is
Right.
not the same as a dispatcher for EMS or the PD. So is
Yes.
that, so. I
And
guess-
that's why this is initial data. This is just the initial data. So when they just go out and when they pull that initial data, it's, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to cast my net on everything that's out there. And now I need to sit down and I need to go through and I need to figure out what is valid and what's not valid. And that's why Gallagher is having those calls with our department heads to determine what is valid and what's not valid.
So I guess I'm not, I apologize, I'm going to, because I'm not connecting, and something's missing for me. So this initial data that you're talking about, shouldn't that have been provided at the beginning of, hey, this is what a dispatcher does for us here, where then, and that's why we gather the information, and now we're giving it to them saying, hey, this is what a dispatcher does when we say dispatcher. So shouldn't that initial data been at the beginning?
We did give them that though.
No, I'm
So-
not talking about us. I'm talking about Gallagher. Shouldn't that gap, maybe I'm not making sense, but shouldn't that a gap have been adjusted or changed by now? Like we started this process almost a year ago, correct?
In July.
Yeah, so shouldn't we have had that, hey, this is a dispatcher in Ottumwa is for the PD, not a truck. So we have gotten that information in July. We provide them all this information with our job information. And then in March, shouldn't they have provided more realistic job matches to what we?
And that's where we're about 6 weeks behind. So that initial data should have come in January. So we started the process, and what it was we created a custom survey. And that custom survey was us identifying, and when I say us, I mean like our employees, our department heads. We identified and said, hey, these are our benchmark positions. These are our positions that we want to go out and we want to see it might be relevant to other cities. Because every city is different. Every company is going to be different and have different positions. So our advisory team went out and said, okay, these are our benchmark jobs. These are the benchmark cities that we want to go to. So we created that custom survey. After that custom survey, we then started our PDQ process, which is that position description questionnaire. So that was on us to complete first. And so we go out and say, okay, here's what our job responsibilities are for a dispatcher or for a clerk, a maintenance technician, whatever those positions are. So they gather all of that intel, and then what they do is they send that out to our sister cities to say, hey, we need salary data for a clerk, and here is what that job description is. So that's what they did. So they got all of that information back, and that all came back in the middle of December is about when all of that came back. So then they started putting all of that information together in this massive spreadsheet, and now we're at that point where we should have been in January, again, about that 6 weeks behind, where we're going through and saying, yes, this is relevant data, or no, this is not relevant data. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I just have one more question, if I could. You mentioned the comparable cities a couple of different times. And I know in other areas, when we talk about comparable cities, we're talking strictly on the demographics, the population base. And obviously, when we start talking about salaries, it transcends that, and we're more talking about the economic positioning of the community. When they're giving us the comparable salaries for other cities, are they just talking about cities with a like population, or are they talking about a city that's comparable as it relates to the economic profile of the city? Because as an example, I would say that while Clinton might be a comparable city in regard to the population, it's not comparable to the city of Ottumwa in regards to the economics of the community. So is there going to be any maybe not differentiation, but at least analysis when comparing somebody that's making $80,000 a year in Clinton compared to what we're paying 70 or 90 here?
Yeah, a couple of things on that. So with the advisory team, they are the ones who actually came up with the cities, and they did not just look at population. So our employees actually said, look, we need to compare with Oskaloosa. We need to compare with Altoona because that's where we're losing people to. So we had, I believe, 13, 14 different cities within the state of Iowa that we went out to of all different populations of different sizes. I mean, all kinds of different things. And then what Gallagher has done, and again, in that initial data that they provided back to us, there's two different tabs of data that's in there. One does not have a geo factor, so it's just whatever that position is, no matter where it is. And then there is another tab in there that does have what they call the geo factor. And there's an age factor. There's all kinds of different factors that are in there that will take that data and say, a clerk in Ottumwa is not going to be the same as a clerk in Des Moines or a clerk in Iowa City or in some of the other, in Ankeny. There is data that's in there for that.
Okay. And then I guess one last thing that just popped in my head, I'm sorry, is experience something that they're looking at in this, because a city clerk that has 5 years of experience, even in a area like Altoona or something where the average wage is probably higher, a 20-year clerk somewhere else might be making in far excess of that just because of the annual cost of living adjustments that they've gotten.
Yeah, that's part of it. Some of the data that they presented back is you have a 25th percentile, a 50th percentile, and a 75th percentile. So, our goal would be that 50th percentile, that's your average rate for that position. And then creating that pay range itself, you've got your 25th and your 75th percentile. So if we've got someone that's got 20 years of experience and has been doing the job and does fantastic, they may be at that 75th percentile. And that's why they're creating those ranges. And that's data that they have pulled from all of those sister cities, as well as the published data, is those 3 different data points.
Good, thank you.
I got a question, Barb.
Yeah.
Is there anything in that data that talks about almost every department is lacking employees, and are them figures figured in? Like, for example, if Park is lacking 3, did we add 3 employees that we need to hire on this study to do a fair wage and benefit study?
Not as the wage and benefit study would not look at authorized headcount. That's not what this would look at. That would be up for us when we're talking with budgeting and things like that, for us to look at what that authorized headcount should be.
Any other questions for Barb? Okay, if not, thank you very much. Okay, we next move on to resolutions.
Resolution number 38, 2023, awarding the contract for Green Street Sewer Improvements Project Group A to J&K Contracting LLC of Urbandale, Iowa, in the amount of $1,655,000. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 38, 2023.
We have a motion to approve the recommendation.
Move the recommendation is presented.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Seals.
Thank you, Mayor. This project was let about a year ago. We went back, did some redesign in the hopes that we'd see some price reductions. I think we've got caught in material cost increases and some of our supply issues. We'll go ahead and cover it for you guys and the citizens. We presented we'll turn on a video that kind of flies the corridor, shows the street, shows what we've done in the past and what this project wants to do. I'll just let it play again while I'm reading. You can kind of get a visual of what's going on. So during both the Main Street projects, which is Vine Street to Jeff and the Main Street Jefferson to Market, a separate storm system was installed and then recombined at Main and Green Street intersection. The project will connect the newly installed storms and complete the backbone for future separations, which include going up the hill to 5th Street. The first project is for the main line from Main Street to the river. That'll be Group A. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on February 28th, 2023 at 2:30 p.m. One bid was received, and the low bidder is J&K Contracting LLC of Urbana, Iowa, in the amount of $1,655,000. The second part of this, when we broke this contract into two parts, we were looking at, you've got pipe work, boring work, street work, and then you've got structural concrete to build a gate well structure along with operating gates as part of the flood system, which is on the river side of the levee and is incorporated into what we call the north interceptor box structure. So that's one contract that we're asking to be awarded, and then we have a second one for Group B. Again, they're really part of the same project, and Group B would be built at the same time Group A is being constructed.
Does council have any questions for Larry? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 39, 2023, awarding the contract for Green Street Sewer Improvements Project Group B to DC Concrete and Construction LLC of Dowds, Iowa, in the amount of $185,760. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 39, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, Larry.
Again, this is Group B of the same project, and this will be for the installation of the structure that actually goes in the river, attaches to the box, also attaches and replaces part of the flood wall, and has the control structures built into it for flood protection. We did our normal notice of projects placed on the city website. All of the plan groups, master builders of Iowa, Iowa League of Cities, all the normal places that we advertise for bidders. Bids were received and opened by the city of Ottumwa on February 28th, 2023 at 2:30 p.m. One bid was received. The low bidder is DC Concrete and Construction, LLC of Dowds, Iowa, in the amount of $185,760.
Any questions for Larry? Not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 46, 2023, awarding the contract for asbestos abatement and demolition of the condemned property at 530 West 4th Street to Weston McKee of Fairfield, Iowa for the best bid, $21,000 for abatement and $17,450 for demolition. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 46, 2023.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation is presented.
Second.
Okay, Zach.
Thank you, Mayor. These next two, at the previous meeting, the council awarded these contracts to the second lowest bid. The staff had recommended not awarding a contract, and so a resolution hadn't been prepared before the meetings. The attorney recommended that we go ahead and put a resolution to the council to vote on these. We did already award the contracts and kind of begin the process on the basis of what happened at the last meeting.
So this is more or less a formality just to have it match what the council decided at the last meeting.
Correct. I think it would be really inconvenient for everybody to vote no.
Any questions for Zach? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
No.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 47, 2023, awarding the contract for asbestos abatement and demolition of the condemned property at 734 Center Street to Environmental Edge of Ottumwa, Iowa for the best bid, $18,400 for abatement and $18,000 for demolition. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 47, 2023.
Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation is presented.
Second.
Okay, Zach.
This is just the second of the same.
Any questions from council for Zach? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
No.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 54, 2023, establishing fees for planning department services. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 54, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, Zach.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. This resolution does two things. The first is that it raises the fence permit fee from $35 to $50. Fences, unlike building permits, are a flat fee for anything, whereas a building permit's based on valuation. We have tracked a significant increase in the valuation and the cost of a fence compared to when the fence permit fee was set. And so this does kind of equalize that or attempt to equalize that. The second thing it does is establish a fee for issuing a certificate of zoning compliance. We used to not do a whole lot of those for whatever reason, maybe a change in how real estate transactions are kind of being encouraged to be done. We get a request for a lot of these now. Just about any time somebody sells a commercial property, they want that to come with a certificate of zoning compliance. It does take a considerable amount of staff time, especially when that comes with a request with 14 questions they want researched and answered and that sort of thing. So we did go ahead and look at what other communities charge as a fee for that type of activity, and this would bring it pretty well in line. So we're looking to charge $35 for those requests.
Does council have any questions for Zach? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 55, 2023, approving change order number 1 for Blake's Branch Sewer Separation Phase 8, Division 1, East of Iowa Avenue Project, and rescinding resolution number 40, 2023. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 55, 2023.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation as commended.
Okay, Larry.
Change Order 1 was approved by council on March 21st, 2023, under Resolution Number 40, 2023. A scrivener's error occurred and the contract amount was incorrectly stated. Change Order 1 will provide compensation to Langman Construction, Inc. for adding an external drop connection to a sanitary sewer manhole. Change Order 1 increases contract amount by $6,000. The new contract sum is $3,149,755.
Council have any questions for Larry? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 56, 2023, authorizing execution of and directing service of notices under Iowa Code Section 447.9 related to tax sale certificates held by the city of Ottumwa. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 56, 2023.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
And Phil, I believe you're gonna. Zach?
Either way.
Okay.
And Chris actually wrote the staff summary in the resolution, so thank you to Chris. This is, the city acquired the tax sale certificates for 5 properties at the public bidders tax sale. In order to serve the notice on those tax sale certificates to acquire the properties, the code requires that we appoint by resolution a city officer to sign the notices, and this resolution would appoint the city attorney.
Does council have any questions for Zach? It's pretty straightforward. If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 57, 2023, approving amendment to agreement between the City of Ottumwa and Shive Hattery to add services to prepare permanent easements and acquisition plats for the Albia Road Quincy Avenue roundabout. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 57, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, Larry.
The city of Ottumwa entered into agreement for professional services with Shive Hattery on August 2nd, 2022. The amendment to the agreement for Albee Road Quincy Avenue roundabout project will add services to prepare 2 permanent easements and 4 acquisition plats for the Albee Road Quincy Avenue roundabout. As a little bit background, the city of Ottumwa was awarded a $500,000 traffic safety improvement program grant to address intersections with a higher number of conflict points, resulting in a higher number of accidents. The intersection, of course, of Albee Road and Quincy Avenue met the requirements for this grant.
Does council have any questions for Larry? I guess a question that I have is what's the projected target date for the roundabout to be completed?
That's kind of slid with some of the land acquisition that we have to do. We're going to target a letting in a few months, and then we'll have to see what the contractor's schedule is. It could be a spring start date now.
Of 2024?
Yes. Again, it'll depend on the contractor.
Okay, if there's no other questions, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 61, 2023, approving and authorizing execution of a second amendment to the development agreement by and between the City of Ottumwa and Ottumwa Hospitality, LLC. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 61, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Phil, you're going to speak to this?
This one I have, yes. All right. So previously, the council had approved the resolution for a development agreement. And since that time, we had one amendment, and now this is a second amendment that was presented by the hospitality group. It is not looking to cost the city any additional. There was a language in the contract that wanted to be corrected. And so they presented that to the city to have that correction made. We've had legal take a look at that. And as part of that, they were also willing to pay any legal costs or anything on behalf of the city that we would have incurred on this. And so this is all, it's not increasing any additional things that the city would be giving to the hospitality group or the development for Cobblestone.
And just for clarification for the public, the Ottumwa Hospitality LLC is the group of investors that put the money up to help build the hotel, correct?
Part of it would be the investors plus Cobblestone Development itself makes up that group, and as the ownership of the hotel.
Does council have any questions for Phil? We do have one individual that wanted to speak on this. So Mr. Gomer, would you like to come up front and identify yourself?
I'm Richard Gomer. I'm an attorney, but I also am an investor. I helped draft some of this and cooperated with the city attorney, and I'm just here to answer any questions. If anybody had any questions, we certainly appreciate the assistance of the city administrator and the city attorney in getting this completed.
Does council have any questions for Mr. Gomer? Okay, thank you, Rich. If there's no other questions from council, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 62, 2023, enacting the purchase of a new 2017 CAT off-road dump truck from Altifer CAT in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and the amount of $296,000 for landfill operations. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 62, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, Zach.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. This truck purchase was approved by the Solid Waste Commission at the March 27th meeting, which includes all of you. So you're familiar. The city's purchasing policy did indicate that this should go in the form of a resolution in order to make the purchase. The purchase price for this truck is $296 or $290,600, which it looks like is not correctly stated in the resolution. So we'll make a correction. It's $290,600. The resolution just says $290,000 and the staff summary says $296,000. Those are both wrong. It's $290,600. But we'll make sure that that's correct in the resolution. The purchase is from Altor for CAT in Cedar Rapids. The truck will have a 24-month 1,000-hour powertrain and hydraulics warranty. The truck is standing by, ready for delivery, and we'll be able to get it here very quickly.
And this is a 2017 truck, so it's not a brand new truck, correct?
Correct.
And the Solid Waste Commission is actually the one paying for this, correct?
Yeah, all the costs will come out of the landfill capital fund.
Does council have any other questions for Zach?
Yeah, just to clarify, so the council isn't looking to undo anything that the Solid Waste Commission already voted on as a commission. This is just to follow within our policies. You're enacting that, you're allowing for that purchase, the funds flow through our treasury. We'll be insuring the vehicle, things like that. So this is just to facilitate that and formalize the action that was already previously approved by the Solid Waste Commission.
Okay, Chris will go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
This is the point in our city council meeting where I'll ask if anybody in the audience would like to address any items that are not on our agenda tonight. Okay. Does city council have any report or communications that they would like to share with the public?
We do. I just want to congratulate Meet Ottumwa on the Iowa Tourism Award for the outstanding social media execution. Laura Carroll and Olson Miller always do a fine job, and it's great to see them recognized by the Iowa Tourism Board.
Any other announcements, comments? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn our city council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned, and thank you, everybody, for attending our Ottumwa City Council meeting this evening.